Welcome back to Weird Stuff in a Can. Today we're returning to a brand we've done a lot of on this series, Fray Bentos pie in a can. Today it's the festive turkey variety. So yeah, this is a special Christmas edition, emblazoned with a little sprig of holly there. Festive turkey pie. Let's have a look and see what's inside. This is turkey and Cumberland sausage and gravy topped with puff pastry. 64 pastry layers, hand placed by experts, devoured by you. With lids like this, no wonder we're the #1 pie in a tin. Also, I think the only pie in a tin. Other brands used to exist, but I think this is now the only pie that comes in a tin with pastry. So it's not hard to be #1 when you're the only one. So turkey and Cumberland sausage in gravy sounds quite nice actually. I've got high hopes for this. Anyway, ingredients: water, wheat flour, which is wheat flour, wheat gluten, calcium carbonate, folic acid, iron, niacin, thiamine. Turkey 10%, Cumberland sausage 6%, which is pork, pork fat, water, wheat flour, which is wheat flour, calcium carbonate, folic acid, iron, niacin, thiamine. And then we're still on the sausage ingredients here: milk powder, dehydrated pork rind, salt, herbs, flavouring, spice extracts, herb extract, black pepper, palm oil, modified maize starch, onion, rapeseed oil, salt, onion powder, chicken stock, which is water, chicken extract, chicken fat and salt, sage, thyme, flavouring, barley malt extract, white pepper, emulsifier, mono and diglycerides of fatty acids, sage extract. Quite a list of ingredients there. Some of them ingredients I'd rather not have in my food, but here we are. Instructions, or how to use. Remove lid using a robust can opener. We highly recommend both the Brabantia Essential line and Oxo Good Grips can openers. I had an Oxo Good Grips, I didn't get on with it. Place open can on a baking tray. Pop in the centre of a preheated oven, 220 degrees Celsius, fan 200, gas mark 7. Bake for 25 minutes or until crust has risen and is golden brown. All appliances vary. These are guidelines only. Ensure product is piping hot before serving. Nutritional information is there if you're interested. This pie contains 2 servings. So let's get this open and have a look. It's not going to be any big surprises here because we've opened a fair few of these in the past. So here's the thing. Cooking these pies is inherently difficult. If you cook them exactly to the instructions, what will tend to happen is the crust will be only just crispy on the top and we'll have these wet, soggy layers underneath. If you cook it for longer than that, you'll get a more crisp crust, but the filling tends to dry out. Whichever way you do it, people will tend to say you did it wrong because one of these things happened. One of those things will always happen. So here it is. That top layer there is pastry. This has already been cooked though because it's been canned. Nearly all canned products are cooked in a pressure cooker after the can is sealed. So this is puff pastry that's already been pressure cooked inside the can. And so as a result, you can't expect it to behave like regular puff pastry. Anyway, it smells pretty good. It smells really nice and savoury and meaty. So, okay, I'm going to go and get this in the oven. We'll bake it as per the instructions. One thing that does work is running a knife around the edge of the pastry here. It only has a top crust, and running a knife around the edge of the pastry here frees up the pastry from the can and allows the top to puff up a bit more. That's a piece of advice and feedback people gave me that does work. That's going to go on a tray just to catch any spills or overflow. Just wait for the oven to heat up and that can go in. So it's risen, albeit rather unevenly, very well. Top crust is crispy. Let's get this back to the studio and give it a taste. Okay, well, here we go. So the crust has stayed up, which is interesting. I do think, yeah, that tip of running the knife around it definitely helps. Interestingly, the pastry has stuck back onto the tin again. So as we can see, there is a cavernous hole underneath there. Only the top couple of layers of pastry have gone crispy. Anyone who knows these pies knows that's the way this always plays out. Okay, well, Gravy is ever so gloopy. Look at that. Now, turkey does make, in my opinion, the tastiest gravy. So, you know, hopefully we're in for a treat here. I'm just going to serve that quarter of the pie for the moment. Obviously, it would be a lot more festive if we had some sprouts and carrots and roast potatoes and stuffing and pigs in blankets, all sorts of things. But we haven't. We're just here to taste this pie. So let's have a look. We've got a count of, yeah, I think possibly 3-4 layers of pastry have gone crispy. That one's marginal. The rest of the pastry layers are soggy, not unlike cooked pasta, overcooked pasta, you could say. Some people love this. Some people despise this or think it's gross. Let's have a little taste. Well, let's actually first see. So that's a bit of turkey there, I think. Oh, maybe. And that's a bit of sausage. That's a bit of sausage. That must be a bit of turkey. Could be. There's not a ton of meat in here. Just a few little cubes of sausage and turkey. That's a piece of Cumberland sausage, supposedly. Not a bad tasting sausage, but, you know, it'd be nicer if there was more of it. Right, a bit of everything so that we can properly taste the pie. So a bit of crispy crust, a bit of soggy crust, a bit of the meat and gravy. There it all is. I mean, it tastes all right. Needs a bit of pepper. Most things do. Yeah, it's okay. I'm not really getting a massively festive flavour. There is so little meat in here that really, whatever it's supposed to do in terms of festive or, you know, whatever vibe it's supposed to give us, that this is really just pastry on top of gravy. The gravy, considering that turkey has the potential to be the most tasty gravy, I think their gravy here was made with chicken stock anyway, but gravy's really quite bland. It's not terrible. I think I might have said that about these pies in the past. It's all right. There is just so much potential scope for improvement on these things, but they are made down to a cost. I won't say price because actually these aren't necessarily cheap these days. I think these were available on sale for £2 in B&M stores. I paid a little bit more than this because I couldn't find any. When I was planning this video, I couldn't find these. I saw them online, couldn't find them anywhere. I had to buy it from a scalper on eBay. Can you believe there are such things as Fray Bentos pie scalpers? I paid a little bit over the odds. And when I say a little bit, I mean a lot. Anyway, yeah, it's all right. I think the next thing to do, because it's easier to criticise than it is to be better. So I think the next thing I need to do is next week I'm going to make a video where I make a festive pie, a festive turkey and Cumberland sausage pie. Not attempting to match this one in budget or price or whatever, but I'm going to try and do justice to the concept of a festive turkey and Cumberland sausage pie. You know, I'll put my money where my mouth is and see if I can do better. But this one, placing this, kind of ranking this within the whole spectrum of good to bad with Fray Bentos pies, this is not as good as that mac and cheese pie. That was actually quite good, although the filling was texturally weird, but the flavour was all right. This one, not as good as their steak pies in terms of flavour on the filling. Gravy's just a little bit thick and gelatinous on this one, for no very good reason. And a bit of salt and pepper did definitely help there. This is, I would say, ever so slightly under-seasoned compared to some of the other pies I've had in this range. Anyway, yes, I am going to eat the whole pie. There's no pretense that I'm not. And that gravy is just a bit too wobbly for me. But gravy is a thing where, you know, different people like their gravy different ways. There is a huge range of preferences for gravy. Some people like it really thin. Some people like it so you can almost slice it. You know, who's right, who's wrong? Who's to say? This is a bit jelly-like for my preference, I would say. So yeah, total amount of meat in there was probably like a couple of dozen pieces of turkey and a couple of dozen pieces of sausage. These pastry layers, there is no way to get these crispy. Some people have suggested taking the whole of the top off and cooking it separately. I tried that once, it was a disaster. Some people have said cook it longer, but if you do that, the filling dries out. This filling's already, you can already see that even when I cook this just to the recommended time, the gravy has started to catch on the bottom of the pan there. That would be just baked to a crisp if I tried to bake that for longer. I think if you put it under the grill as well, then it would just end up burning on the top layer. So really, this doughy pastry, you've got to treat it like it's a feature of this product. Just appreciate it for what it is or not. If you think about pierogies or gyoza or something like that, it's a bit like a dumpling wrapper that you'd have on that. That was the Fray Bentos Festive Turkey Pie Special Edition. So final verdict on Fray Bentos Festive Turkey. I don't feel very festive. In case you're wondering how I've got a sealed can of this when I just supposedly opened it for you, I had to buy 3 of these to get hold of any, and I suppose the price I had to pay to the scalpers is not really contributing to my festive jollity. It also didn't help that just after I paid that price, I saw them reduced to £2 in the shops, but by that time I didn't need any more. I think probably the most festive thing about this is the design on the can with the holly and the snowflakes and the colours. That's probably not a great endorsement. If you like these pies, more power to you. They are what they are. I don't think this is a very good example of these pies. This has got considerably less meat in it than some of the other meat pies in the range, so this episode's not left me feeling tremendously festive. But there's time to fix that, and next week, as I say, I'm going to make my own festive turkey pie. So anyway, that was festive weird stuff in a can on Atomic Shrimp. I hope that's been interesting. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.